All right, welcome everybody to Team Call. I'm Jamie Haskin. I'm a 3-star diamond, and I am excited to talk to you guys about some content. And I'm going to preface this with telling you guys that I had a Zoom mastermind for the 3-star diamonds and above with Dr. Henry Cloud. We saw him in person too, but this content prior to that was a Zoom with him, and it was really great stuff. And I've been meaning to kind of utilize this and share some of it with you guys. So I am going to do that tonight. So a lot of this is going to come from him, and I'm going to elaborate on a lot of it and things like that. So I'm excited for you guys to hear about that, and I will see how much I can all get through here in this 30 minutes. But first of all, I'm going to start off. I titled this, it's being a high performer here. And he speaks on, a few specific things about high performers. But before that, I want to talk about the fact in, what we do in this business, in life. Not everything is going perfectly all the time, right? I mean, that is a given. And there are gaps, there are struggles, there are holdups, whatever it is. And 90% of the gap comes from who you are as a person and how you are instructed or put together. John Maxwell also has a quote that says, life is 10% of what happens to me and 90% of how I react to it. So that means it is on us, right? It's not just what happens to us. It's not just, circumstances, whatever. The responsibility falls to us. And I want to say, I know, you can hear this now, and how you hear this is really important. And I'm going to talk about this more later, but does that make you feel defeated, or does it empower you? Because I want to tell you that it should empower you. And if it doesn't, then we need a little gut check here, because the ball is in your court. There's something you can do about it, right? So have a pen and paper, write in the notes section of your phone, whatever it is. But I want you guys to kind of take some notes tonight so that you can utilize this at the end with some questions. Or a question to kind of hone in on some things at the end. But starting off, 3 things to be a high performer. One is you have to know your business. You have to know your business. No one becomes a high performer without knowing your business. So do you know it? Have you ever defined it? What is your role? What are your responsibilities? What are your current outcomes? Is there room for growth? Where is there room for growth? I should say there is room for growth. There is for all of us. If you were to give yourself a self-evaluation, if you had another job out in the real world, whatever, not in something like this, you're reporting to a boss, right? You usually have yearly evaluations on your work, right? So if you were to give yourself a self-evaluation and present it to your boss, who is yourself, what would that look like? You're your own boss, but that doesn't get you off the hook for accountability. And it really, at the end of the day, it just requires more from you in terms of honesty, integrity, conviction, right? Because you're reporting to yourself. But before you even define it, before you can even define what your business is, you have to first own it. So I'm talking to the people tonight who are on this call who are owning their business. You want this. You're saying, this is my business. I'm going to do this. I'm going to, I have goals in this. I want to succeed. So that's who I'm talking to right now, because that's who that truly defines or connects to, right? And all that comes down to is a decision. It's a decision whether you want to own this business and you want to define it and you want to take responsibility. So number 1 is you have to know your business. Number 2 is you have to build alliances. Now, you build alliances in what you do. What does that mean? It means you network. It means you're linking arms with people. You're creating business builders. You're creating leaders. You're doing this together. You're going to the top together. You might have heard the quote many times, we rise by lifting others, right? So you can only go so far alone. It's a people business. So you need to do these things. Number 3 is the last one, and this is where I'm going to focus the majority of this call on right now. You develop your skill, you network. That's 1 and 2. The third component is probably the most important, and sometimes doesn't get defined as the most important, but it is your character. the character of the high performer. And this is one that you are alone on. This is what you own on your own here. It's how you're glued together as a person. So your character, what is that? It's not just, moral, ethical, it's the personal aspects that can be grown and developed. Character can be developed. Dr. Henry Cloud has a book called Integrity, so you can read that. Most people follow other people because of their integrity, but you don't always know what that means, right? So integrity defined is, it means a whole, it's complete, it's undivided. And some people don't develop that whole person of who they are. They have compartments that are strong, parts of you that are strong, and they have other parts that are not. So are you growing in all of those and being intentional in that so that you can have that whole as a person there? This keeps people from oftentimes becoming as successful as you want to be, right? When you aren't working on that whole, all the parts of you right there. So there's a boat analogy that I really love that Dr. Henry Cloud talked about. So just like, if you're driving a boat, you see the wake behind a boat, right? And the captain of the boat can look behind the boat and he can see that wake and tell everything about that boat in terms of where it's been, if it's been swerving, if it's too shallow, if there's been problems. He can tell that in the wake of that boat. So a person leaves behind a wake in two areas. One is results. People follow people who get results. So your performance, you're hitting the numbers, you're ranking up, or you're growing in some way or another. At some point, their results matter, right? So how do you get those results? That's, for one, strong leaders are not only leading well, but they're willing to be led. You need to seek that out, want to be coached, ask the questions, willing to be learn. Everything comes back to the 4 pillars in terms of getting results: recruiting, retaining, duplicating, leadership. And when you're duplicating and you're consistent in all this, you will get results. It is going to come. So if you are doing these things, take inventory. What do you duplicate on a daily basis or on a weekly basis? If you were to write that down right now, write down the things that you duplicate. And is there anything missing? Is there anything that you're avoiding or anything that you're inconsistent with? Look at yourself first and your willingness to be led, and then look at those under you and see if they are duplicating what you are doing. Are they following you? Are you taking others with you? How deep are things duplicating? Is it duplicating 1 level? If you have a bigger team, is it duplicating 3 levels down, or is it stopping at some point? There's a quote out there: if you think you are leading but no one is following, you're only taking a walk, right? So be proactive in learning. What skill in your business do you need to hone in on? Write that down, one thing right now. So what is a skill? Because that's what we're on the wake. The one thing is results. So if there's something that you need to hone in, we all need to hone in on skills, right? So what is one skill that you need to hone in on and be proactive about developing right now? So write that down and then commit these next few days to watching training videos on that and developing that skill. That should be something you're working on these few days, maybe weekly, maybe that's something you're really honing on for the whole month. Number 2, in terms of the wake you leave behind, is relationships. How you leave people in your wake. Are you adding value or are you subtracting? It can, be easy to take the back seat in terms of being involved in a big team like this. It's easy to, kind of like take your hands off the reins and plug your people into a big team, but your role is not to hide into the background and just plug everybody into the team. You guys own your own business and you have value to add. So to those around you, to those in your downline, how are you adding value? Whether people stick around in Plexus or not, maybe some will come and some will go, but what has their experience been because of you? How are you leaving people in your wake? I looked up, I can't remember what I exactly looked up, but in Michigan, there's a definition, or not even definition. It was like I don't know. Let me just quote this because I don't even know what the title would be of it, but it said that in Michigan, the quote is, the owner of any vessel is personally responsible for any damage to life or property resulting from a wake. And I thought that fit in really well right here. You are responsible for your wake. You're responsible for what you leave behind, right? So ask yourself, what kind of wake am I leaving behind me? Ask other people, what is it like to be in my wake? What is it like to work with me, right? So that's your analogy there on those two things. Next, I want to dive into, in terms of balancing your wake, there are 6 traits that we're going to go through in terms of what high performers do. So number 1 is high performers have an ability to create and maintain trust. Trust fuels investment. And it is important for everything. It's a foundation. So where does trust come from? It comes from, when people feel like that you understand them and their needs, and maybe what they're afraid of, what hurts, what makes them happy. They get me, right? So you can build trust that way. Persuading does not work until you understand someone first and what's important to them. So that comes into play when we're reaching out to people, when we're building, business builders, when we're creating leaders, all the things. It's all the relationships that come with it. And that is a foundational in terms of trust. Deep listening is something that Dr. Cloud touched on, and it's not just listening to understand, and it's not even it's not just to say that you understand someone. It's when they understand that you understand them, which is a whole nother level, when they feel like you actually understand them, not just on your end. He said neurobiological changes actually happen in their brain that let go of the flight or fight and begin to lean in. So it's a chemical thing in your brain where someone actually feels comfortable to lean in when you feel understood first, before you're trying to persuade them on one thing or another. I was going to play this and I completely forgot, and it's not ready, so I'm not going to, but take a note to watch. There's a YouTube video. If you just type in, it's not the nail. I don't know if anybody's ever watched that or not. It's very eye-opening. I'm kicking myself that I did not play that, but super short. And it's basically this girl who has it's not the nail. You can type it in there. This girl has a nail in her head, and she's talking to like a counselor, and she's like, oh, it hurts so much. I can't focus. Like it's spreading everywhere. And he's like, just take the nail out, but you don't understand. It hurts. And she's just going over, but he's just pointing. He's just take the nail out, but he's not addressing. It's comical, but at the point of it is that he's not connecting with her. She doesn't feel understood or heard by him. And it's an obvious thing, right? So it's just comical. You can watch it. Anyway, if you start with persuading, then, but they don't feel understood by you, they don't feel heard, then, defense mechanisms come up. They might feel like they need to push back even more and, to be understood. And they're fighting just as hard as you might be fighting for them to understand you, right? So then you got that kind of battle going on. So what are your first responses to people? Are they persuasive, or is it being curious, right? And if you're persuasive, you might be thinking in the back of your head, being worried about what, sorry, I was trying to, there we go. About what you're going to say next, well, how you can fix a situation, how to educate someone, how to help them know what you know. Like, they're not bad things. That's something that you're going to help someone with later. But what can you do first in terms of being curious? You're wondering what their experience is, how they feel. You have a desire to understand and ask questions to know more, to connect more. And you're going to get a lot further with someone if you can connect on that level first. Number 2 is high performers have an orientation towards the truth. So when we feel like someone's driving force is that you're looking for reality, which means what we know is true, like the facts, right? What is actually true, then that can make all the difference. So you can go into a situation with a bias or an assumption based on maybe your past experiences, things that you've gone through before. So you go into a situation with those preconceived notions. Brinley, no. Or, see, now I lost my thought. Brinley, Joe, go to bed. Okay, or instead we can go into it from a stance of, I probably don't know everything, and I need to be looking for what is true, right? Not making assumptions based on our past experiences, but just looking for what is actually true and being curious. There was a really great example in terms of P&G and being a leader in marketing and growth. And when interviewed and asked how they got to where they were at, this person, this company moved to China to actually get the real experience on. Brinley, I am leaving a call. Yes, I know. Walk away. Go to bed. I will see you after my call. Thank you. Sorry, my husband's not home. But he moved to China to figure out why the product wasn't being sold. So it was detergent. It was for washing their laundry. They're washing their laundry, but why are they not being able to sell this product here? And so he went there to actually see what was going on. And when he got there, and he got a job on this rice farm and actually experienced where they're coming from. And the reality for them was their water pressure was low and it was too soft or too hard or whatever it was. So it did not produce any suds. So they thought, no suds, it's not working. So they traveled every week to do their laundry. So when he came back to the factory, he took in that information and found a way to produce a product that would produce suds, right? And then advertised it as bubbles at home. So their sales increased. So he got into their experience to figure out how to connect with them. So high performers are hungry to find out reality so they will know what the next step is. So when it comes to your workers, to your prospects, what problems present themselves where you can be hungry to dive into learning more? So when you get objections like, I don't have enough time, and they're struggling to meet their goals, are you hungry to find out what their day looks like? How do they spend their time? How much time do they spend on work? Or maybe they have small networks and they're not creating business builders or leaders. Maybe they don't, realize what their own networks even look like. Are you helping them identify who has potential and what you can see and reaching past them? So being curious, being hungry to dive into to the other people's perspectives and what's going on, connecting to them, what drives them, what works for them, how are they using the products, in terms of our customers, all things that, and not just making assumptions. What else do I want to say here? Have a healthy disregard for the impossible. So don't have a limit that is in your head. Define your reality. There's so many things we can tell ourselves all the time that can hinder us and hold us back and stop us dead in our tracks in terms of what we are telling about ourselves, what we are telling about what we're capable of, circumstances around us, whatever that is. So don't ever have a limit that is in your head define a reality for you. Let the reality define your limit. What is actually true, not just what you're feeling, not just what you're telling yourself. Look at your business. What realities am I assuming that I've never hit that limit and actually maybe I can handle? So is there anything you are, putting and stopping yourself with that maybe you could actually move through? Number 3, high performers makeup. Sorry, I was looking at time. High performers have a makeup that gets results. So what is inside you? Your characteristics, your qualities. You have the makeup that is destined for results, you guys. You have that within you. What is your makeup? It's the way you execute your business. It's your day-to-day decisions, what you do or do not do. And it's our makeup that can get in the way. It's our, our qualities, our characteristics. So prioritizing your time and your energy. When do you say, when to say no? Sometimes we have a hard time saying no to things. That's definitely something I've struggled with in the past and can still sometimes struggle with, right? At time to time. So when you are working your business, you have to be able to know when that is. To get to where you want to go, something you're doing now might have to end. And that can be a tough pill to swallow sometimes. Successful people realize when they're pouring a lot of time and energy into something or someone, and it's not getting any better. So you need to invest your time wisely. And it's not just throwing people around or things around. It's working hard and realizing where you're allocating your time. Invest your time in the ones who have the ability, the strategies, when they're moving and their feet are matching their mouth. Some things you are involved in were good for maybe a season, but they're taking away from where your goals are now and where you want to go. So how comfortable are you at saying no to things, activities, people? How comfortable are you at ending things? It's your time and your energy. Invest in the activities that are going to move you forward with your goals. And sometimes it's saying no to fun things that you always said yes to in the past, right? So hoping for change is the thing that we all want, we all do, but hope is just a wish. So we need to follow through and make sure our actions are following what our goals are there. There's a hunting analogy that Dr. Cloud gave us that was super interesting. I'm gonna have to try and really hustle here. So the ready, aim, fire in terms of hunting. Ready is, does my equipment work? Is my gun clean? Do I know what I'm doing? Do I have things lined up? Do I know what I need? Your business, right? So obviously analogy. Are you ready to take action? Are you gonna get this done? So your action, are you ready? Aim. Never aim your gun at anything you don't want to shoot. So some people are not focused on the target and what they're trying to do, and their business and lives can be scattered, right? So if you're not focused on the right things, things can feel very scattered. Are you focusing on the wrong things? The impulsiveness can all of a sudden become, instead of ready, aim, fire, it's fire, ready, aim, and everything's out of order, right? If you're not focusing on the right things. So you have to aim at the right activities, people, priorities, consistencies. It is crucial. So you have to know what it is you're trying to hit. And then when I do this, this is what I want to make sure happens. You have to have it in the right order. And then fire is, you have to be ready to pull the trigger. Some people, are ready, 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 instead of ready, aim, fire, right? So can't just have the getting ready to get ready, all the things, right? Activity is what's rewarded, not the getting ready. So you can't make a living when you're still in med school at 80 years old, right? You have to keep moving forward. We all have makeup. This is still in the makeup part, lackings in us, right? We all have things, that can get in the way. So what is getting in the way of the results that you need? It's always related to behavior. People do succeed when things are hard. It is working. So what do we need to do? Sometimes we can get passive and so externally defined that we don't see what needs to change, right? In our own behaviors. And you just need that perspective shift. So whether it's fears, giving priority to the wrong things, maybe it's not keeping your own promises to yourself, maybe it's negative thoughts, what you're telling yourself, whatever it is. Embrace the coaching and the trainings and maybe even therapy for some people. So number 4, I have 5 minutes. We're going to go fast. High performers have the ability to embrace negative reality. This one is so important. It's probably one of my favorite things, numbers, but problems, conflicts, bad things, people being upset. It's going to happen, right? The key is not just being okay with the hard things, but successful people move towards the conflict and the problem and embrace it. That is not always easy. And I think that really is what separates people a lot of the times. And I was thinking about what that looks like and who these people are, how this plays out, right? It's not just accepting the problem and avoiding it. The high performers, I see someone who leans in, addresses the problem, looks for the solution, right? It's not just someone getting in an argument and moving on while holding a grudge or discontinuing a relationship or whatever, and everything looks fine on the outside. No, it's leaning into the hard conversations. It's working through the disagreements or misunderstandings or arguments, having the hard conversations, seeing someone else's perspective and trying to understand and relate before judging. That's a big separation, right? That's leaning into the hard problems and negative realities. Oh, this was good. They heighten Dr. Cloud said they heighten the part of the brain that is designed to either fight or flight or freeze. So again, it affects your brain. So when you come across a problem and you're not equipped, your brain can actually shut down or whatever it's going to do. So you need to have a perception change on how you view problems, right? Knowing that conflicts and problems, it doesn't mean that something is wrong. It just means that, hey, this is a reality. This is normal. This is life. This is why we brush our teeth, why we have insurance, because things go wrong, right? So when someone is upset, when there are problems, it means, okay, this is another day. You're going to move toward the problems. You're going to work through them. You know that you're going to be successful because of the stinking problems, you guys, right? Because you're going to learn and grow through it. And it's going to make you a better leader. It's going to help you through all the things. The great ones, what they do is go and hug the problem. So you start with understanding, you embrace it. You say, help me understand this, right? So eat your problems for breakfast. Don't avoid them. Don't think it's the end of the world or a problem. You lean into those things and change the way your brain is perceiving those. Number 5, high performers increase things. You have to have stretch goals. You have to think about getting to the next level. Stretch goal is going to hit something that's a little bit past something you've maybe never tried before or, tried to do or to grow yourself in, right? So when you're stretching yourself out of your comfort zone, what can you do that's not going to completely paralyze you? So write that down. What is something I need to do to put myself out of my comfort zone that I can literally write down? And I want you guys, if you don't write the question down, if you're not writing the answer down, and write the answer down by the end of the night. Sometimes the easier question is, what am I avoiding? If you're avoiding something, likely it might be something that's out of your comfort zone. If you aren't scared enough, then you're not growing, right? Being willing to fail in the service of getting better. That is the failure that we want. How many rejections did you get this week? If you aren't losing, you aren't learning. If you aren't learning, you're not failing. It all comes together, and only you can be the person that increases your pace at which you get to the next level by leaning into these things. Number 6, high performers have an orientation towards transcendence, which basically just means it's not just about you. You have a higher calling. You have a bigger purpose than just yourself in doing this. And at some level, when we do this business, you get to that point. It's not just about you. It's because you're showing up for other people too. You're showing up for the ripple effect and the people that you're reaching beyond just you. We are in a life-changing business with Plexus here, products and business. It's no secret, and you can change a person's life in what we do. And it could be, something that, where they're providing money to send a kid to college that they wouldn't have otherwise been able to do, whatever it is. So what is your position on this? Do you feel a sense of purpose in this? Is that how connected you are to this? So you're not just doing this for you, so that when it is hard, you're going to show up, because it's not just about you, because you have a higher calling. There is purpose in this. I remember the first time that I got an email that came in with a new join, and I didn't recognize the sponsor's name. And I just remember thinking like, oh my goodness, I don't even know, I didn't know who this person was. I haven't physically touched and created this join through one other person or whatever. The ripple effect was beyond what I was personally doing. High performers know that their actions or lack thereof also affect other people. And they're a high performer because of the feeling of the sense of purpose in that. So each of these are traits that can be grown, can be cultivated. High performers are not who they are because they were born with these things. Okay. It's not because you have a special gift. It's not because, oh, well, it comes more naturally to them. No, these are cultivated. It's a decision. They are grown. So I want you guys to write down, I am a high performer. Write it down, put it in the chat, whatever you want to do. Write down the characteristic of all of them that I said that you can focus on first in intentionally growing and developing. So pick one of them that I said and pick one to start with and what you're going to be intentional, because we all need to be growing in all these things all the time. We haven't arrived, right? And then step into, excuse me, step into the shoes of a high performer, because they are right there in front of you. They're your shoes. So lace them up, start running, and do the 3 things. Know your business, build alliances, your business builders, your leaders, and develop your character. So thank you for joining me tonight. Thanks for letting me share some wisdom from Dr. Henry Cloud himself. And I will see you all later.